Four Eyes back again with Watchmen #2. And we're looking at each cover as well because normally there's like a collection of them, and it's just usually just got the little generic smiley face cover. But these you get to have, I mean, obviously, unless you look in the back of those trade paperbacks or the collected edition, they probably show these off. But I think these have always been fun to look at because I think they're just as smart and good at kind of setting up for what's to come in each issue. And again, I can't say anything more than that this stuff's really good. Uh, this comic again is pretty exceptional. Here we've got a juxtaposition between a funeral and then visiting. Uh, was it Silk Spectre uh, visiting her mom in California, old folks' home, and so it's a kind of a ping ponging back and forth between this sunny California and rainy. I think they're in New York again. I think that's how it is. Yeah, New York. And so yeah, and then again, we don't get as too many, I think, pages before we get to the splash introduction. But yeah, once again, pretty solid. Let's see if I can get this to focus a little bit. Pretty solid, again, splash page. They're they're basically having a conversation back and forth about like the old days and whatnot, and throughout the thing that you've got the priest doing his I don't know what they call it, but the last whatever they always do in cliche when they do the end of when they always have that little speech at the end of people's deaths and whatnot, that dust to dust, ashes to ashes kind of thing. I thought it was funny. She's like, there's this thing in this universe where they have like this weird little, I don't know if it's a cigarette or whatever, but they loads this little orb with like what looks like tobacco or something. And when they light it, whatever, they like smoke it out of this little thing. And I'm like, that's something a little extra that I wasn't aware of. That like is a world building thing. Same with we've got the little perfume bottles popping up already, and eventually that'll probably become more and more apparent as we read on. I know there's a cover that literally has it on it, so that usually means there's something relevant about that. I think this is kind of fun to see how you can like show that even in the rain, that guy doesn't get touched or whatever. And then we get the old you know what scene. But I really like this because they took this I think right out of the movie as well, where it's like the flash leading to the back, the cutscene or whatever. But yeah, uh, there's a little struggle, and I'm not going to say much more about that other than it's pretty compelling scene as well. But yeah, this is fun. I like these little like Tijuana Bibles. I like that's in the universe. Then again, we get some fun little cut like I like this where you get the whole slowly zoom in, and then you're in the flashback. This is the what is it? They're going to be called they want to be called the Crime Busters or whatever is this second incarnation. Yeah, and then you've got people. You got the comedian basically butting heads with everyone and whatnot, and just not the same as the first incarnation of the team. Uh, they're at each other's throats. Comedian Of course, and then burns the freaking map like a jerk he is. You know, really trying to make a statement there. It's kind of just like a retrospective of the guy's life at this point. Again, there's these nice little like slow to transition. So it's like you get that right here is where you get that, a firework. The firework is celebrating, and then you get the this other infamous scene. This book's chock full of those classic comedian moments. You know, you get the war is over, and so we're all going home. You know, but someone wants them to own up to the fact that they have a baby, and he says no, thank you. And yeah, so then this is a good one where it's I love you could have turned the gun into steam or the bullets into mercury or the bottle into snowflakes, but you didn't. You didn't move a finger, or lift a finger. So I always like that kind of like it's a pretty good retort back to the scenario that happens again, and then you get some more transitions here. Again, the color is always great. I think that's another thing too, where not every, like the color seems to always get like a bum rap for in most comics. Like you either are phoning it in or you're doing a great job, and it doesn't get the proper respect. But yeah, I think this is like hitting on all cylinders where you're like the colors thoughtful and good. You know, obviously the inks and the penciling, the writing, the lettering. Um, yeah, and then you got a full picture, but breaking it up with the gutters kind of changes the pacing. There's a pacing instead of just seeing one full shot of them. That always seems to kind of imply that there's some fun, crowd scenes, and again the coloring always kind of hits with like these really strong emotional moments are in these really warm, hot colors, these pinks and reds and oranges, yellows. A lot of the modern stuff seems to not have that. Like flashbacks are kind of painted in a more aggressive color scheme. This is good stuff. You're getting again the comedian is continuing to be like wake up, you sheep sort of energy. Um, yeah, and then you got the kind of the wrapping up of the that, and then you have Rorschach noticing someone extra at the funeral, and then he, of course, surprises him, asks him why he was there. This is awesome because, again, there's a lot of focus on light source in this comic. The refrigerator casts this yellow light, and so most of the yellow in this on this page is from the refrigerator. This is also interesting too because this is also focus on light where there must be some type of outside light that flashes orange. Like so every other page has orange. So you're seeing kind of a shadowy shot, and then you're seeing a lit up shot. This is again comedian kind of breaking down, and it's also from like a first person perspective where you're seeing the knees and the hands of the uh, whatever his name is. Look, forget his name. I don't know, whatever his name is. I always forget his name. Um, yeah, and he explains to him that the comedian was very uncharacteristic of him in that at that time. And then We cut back to again to the light source being prominent there. Then you get some more Rorschach's journal being annoyed by society. Then he decides to pay respect one more time, and then this is kind of fun. So what I noticed was when you look back at these shots, they're almost one for one, but they're just colored different. So the shot in the first comic, all these are pretty much the exact same shot. They're just they're not colored in this color. Um, Same with these. Like if you look back at the previous shots of these, I noticed where like like you got that one right there, you got that there. They're ever so slightly different, just so that they can follow a color pattern for this like collage of scenes that we've already seen. So like this is only a little bit different. These were all the red shots from the first book. We saw this obviously, and the map's already like a pink color anyways. But yeah, I like this was a thought out idea where it's like, well, we're just gonna even if it's redrawn. I don't even know if that's the case. Let's see. It looks to be, from what I can tell, it looks identical. Yeah, it looks identical. So they just copy and paste previous pages, so that probably made this faster. But you still have to like put the effort into like clearly like the dialogue boxes are not there, so you see another part of that picture. Um, again, the color scheme is different. So like I think that's really cool that like even though this might have been an easy like as they say like this easy pages where you're oh you don't have to do much. There's not a lot of text. There's a lot of like copying of a panel. You're taking a lot of things that have already been drawn, but then you're recontextualizing it with new lettering and a new color palette. And so even though these have already been drawn, they need to be uh, they need to be put in a different light, or they need to be used slightly different. So like it's technically not an easy day. I mean, it's easy for the artist because it means that they don't have to draw these things again. But they didn't slack on just oh we'll just take all the because again like I showed you. Let's go back further because there was I noticed that with like where is it? I already passed it again. Oh, so you have this shot right here, and clearly it's more colored, and then it's more monochromatic or whatever. It has only like three colors, but it's pretty much the exact same thing. Again, you can see different things based off of where the dialogue bubbles and stuff are. Again, it's the same exact page or image, but yeah, I like how they didn't really just skimp out on that. But then you have I'm assuming is what that the pink is mostly supposed to be a reference to the rose here. So you're getting a lot of red, and then it's just straight up just a red box here. This again, transitions, visual and transitions in this are awesome. I love like there's no waste in going from this to then to this. Like there's they only need one picture to kind of go okay. Like the study of this is to be like okay, he's falling and then he's dead. It's, what we'll do is we'll just do one big red magenta, one big magenta box. And what we'll do is we'll then cut to the rose, and the rose will your brain connects that this is almost like a smash cut, like go like cut to black, and then or whatever, or this hit this like saying this is coming at you instead of blacking out, it turns magenta, and then imagine like then as the camera pulls away, it pulls away because like this is like really close up to like a pedal, for example, and it slowly backs out into that transition. Like that would be awesome to see that in. I don't know. I don't assume. I imagine that a lot of this stuff is translated one for one into the movie because I would have remembered if they tried to do something like this, where this transition again is really well done. Like I think this is impressive. Like this right here kind of is a good study in like how do you how do you make one page like that's always been the thing with comics. It seems like what can you do in one page? Like how do I how am I like impressed in one page? At least visually. I mean, you're not going to get a whole lot of context in terms of like you know dialogue or whatever, but like I can see what they're doing with this one page. It's the end of a person and zooming out to the cutting back to the reality, to the present. Um, he gets his roses as one of those terms, and yeah, it's pretty straightforward there. Uh, Again, I can't say better things about it. I like they keep the smiley face badge or little button yellow. These have been fun. I actually really like reading these. These I think put a big different like a lot more backstory into everything and context that even the movie doesn't even bother to do. To where like I feel like this stuff really immerses you, and it's funny because like it's the supplemental stuff at the in the back where like I don't know if anyone talks about this when they review Watchmen. I don't even know if this is in collected stuff because I only have the original 12 copies or issues. But I find myself stuck reading these longer than this. Like this, obviously, you could argue it's a pretty quick read, but then just these like 3 or 4 pages or whatever of this guy's book and kind of giving more and more insight on like the the mythos and the backstory of everything is really actually really compelling and really fascinating. And it's funny because it's just like reading a book because it's mostly text. So the idea that you can like I think it's impressive when you can blend like a typical like novel inside of a comic and have like both things be worth your time. It's not like, oh, well, this is only a comic and this save this for like a standalone thing or whatever, or this is for the real big nerds who want a complete separate like book on Watchmen additional you know what do you call it? The it's kind of like a bonus DVD. It's like, oh well, the main feature is on its own disc, and then it has the special features tend to be on its own separate disc. If there's a lot, um, not everyone always pops that one in. They always pop in the movie. So I think that this is a good example of like the extending out the world itself is kind of fun. Anyways, and as we look at the back cover, we're starting to see the blood coming down. We're going to get closer to midnight. And with that, we, and yeah, and then now that we've looked in the inside, we clearly are just, this is like a fixate, hyperfixation of what happened during most of the issue, the cemetery. You get a little bit of a crying, almost looks like the Statue of Liberty crying. It's probably more or less like I don't know if there's a common character like angel. I don't know if this is an angel or whatever uh, that have those types of statues in cemeteries, but they're crying. So this is fun to have as an additional thing that throughout the whole context of just this one book, you can understand, what this is gonna. This is basically the funeral backstory of, slash backstory of a comedian for the most part. And we'll be moving on to the next issue in the next video. So with that, I will see you around. Four Eyes out.